Hello everyone and welcome to Talking the PS, our weekly PlayStation podcast where we round up all the gaming PlayStation news for your listening and viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games or up in the digital clouds for your podcast preference of choice. We've got a great show lined up for you this week, including your mid-month games for PS Plus, PlayStation asking its members about NFTs, and Microsoft accusing Sony of shenanigans. But before we get into it, obviously, I'm not Chris, I'm Richie, as you know. Chris is having a well-earned break and is on holiday with his lovely wife. And joining me, as usual this week, is Mr. Rob.
Good afternoon.
And this time, this is our second attempt at recording, I didn't say he was here instead of Chris.
I know, right? Yeah. You think you get used to me being on this podcast at this point, but hey-ho.
And you can blame Rob's computer crashing for you not getting that version of the intro.
Yeah, honestly, this weekend's cursed for us. I've never seen Chris as a lucky charm, but maybe he is. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this is our second attempt to record today. First time we were like 5 minutes in the show and your computer just went blue screen. Last night when we tried to record for the first time, for some reason, Discord wouldn't give me any audio and then my internet just died.
Yeah, it's a sign of times. Nothing in the UK works at the moment, so, you know.
Yeah. But what have you been playing at the moment, Rob?
Honestly, not a lot. I game primarily in this room you see here, and it's just been too hot. A bit of Hearts of Iron 4 on multiplayer, which resulted in me staying up till about 4 a.m. last night to finish off a game. But aside from that, it's been pretty minimal. What about you?
I've just been largely chipping away at Ghost of Tsushima. I've recently been hitting the gym quite a bit more, trying to get myself in shape. So actually my gaming time has actually condensed a bit. But I was up till like 3 a.m. playing Ghosts last night. Mm-hmm. But it was weird, like, it was 10 o'clock like when I first sat down to start playing. And then I looked at the clock and it was like 2:30. I was like, what happened?
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Where did the time go?
Like, when your gaming time does kind of condense, it really kind of sorts like the chaff games out from the ones you genuinely enjoy, I think, which is what I've noticed recently.
Yeah, I'm at a point because I am quite busy between work, trying to get to the gym, get exercise, get in shape. I have 3 weekly podcasts and a live stream at the moment. It's like my free time is kind of getting like, you know, when it's like the value of that time keeps going up and up. So it's like, right, the game has to be something special for me to want to put time into it at the moment.
Yeah,
just because I have less time to do it.
Yeah, sign to getting older, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. But before we get into it, make sure you like the video if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon so you know when all our great shows go live, such as this one, such as Sounds of Stadia, such as CloudQuest. Follow us on the social medias, everything's at Helix Cloud Games. Rob, if you would like to do us the honours of introducing us to the...
Honestly, I've been so nervous trying to get this down. Okay, so here we go. The properly prepared PlayStation perusing points, aka the news.
The news! You know what? I know your pain, because initially with Sound of Stadia, Tom used to do it. The first time that I do it, I'm not going to lie, I practiced.
Oh yeah, like, you called me unawares before, but I'll work on it. I might just take it over from you on the next episode.
I'm happy to hand it over. But first news story of this week, your mid-month games for PlayStation Plus have been revealed, and there's a massive drop in Yakuza games.
Yeah, it looks like, when you look at the list kind of in bullet points, it looks pretty huge. But when you kind of like narrow down and you realize, okay, yeah, I can see like kind of the franchise patterns coming here. You've got kind of some Monopoly duos, you've got like the Yakuzas, but it's like, I don't get the gravity of it because I have some of these games on Xbox GamePass at the moment. Like, what do you think of it? Is it a good kind of drop for you?
The Yakuza games are on my radar, as we've been talking about the last few weeks, but I'm not, at the moment I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima. I'm not sure when I'll get to Yakuza, because I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima at the moment. I want to play God of War again before Ragnarok drops. God of War Ragnarok is like a few months out. We also have Pokemon a few months out. So
there's a lot coming, right?
There's a lot coming and it's like limited time. It's like... Yeah, so I don't know.
One thing I have noticed, The one thing that kind of excited me the most when PlayStation Plus kind of this re-platform got announced was the kind of the more retro games, and like we're talking kind of like PS2, PS1 era stuff, and that does seem a light on the ground since launch, really, which don't feel great about that, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, actually, in that similar vein, it was actually noted that all the games, I'll actually just read through the games list now for your mid-month games. Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami, Yakuza Kiwami 2, Dead by Daylight, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, Wildlands, Bugsnax, Metro Exodus, Trials of Mana, Uno, Monopoly Madness, and Monopoly Plus. But all of them are coming to the extra tier, and nothing extra is coming to the premium tier.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in like a bit of a... I'm probably in the minority where the kind of like extra... sorry, no. Is it premium? Premium's the top one? Yeah,
Premium's the top one, yeah.
Yeah, so I get the big benefit of cloud gaming, which is kind of what I do most of my gaming on. But the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 owners, I would be thinking about now kind of, what am I getting for this extra charge this month? I don't know if that's a fair comment. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of torn between, like, you know, when you see both points and you're not really solid on either. Mm-hmm. I can kind of see, like, the way I looked at PlayStation Plus Premium is, this gives me cloud gaming. That is the benefit. So it's basically extra plus cloud. So if a game comes to cloud, I get it, but all the games that can be played cloud, I can play them on cloud. So I'm not too bothered if games every month aren't coming to premium extra, because there's already extra content that I can access through the cloud. What I would like is the PlayStation blog to start denoting in their write-ups what games are coming to the cloud.
Yeah, so I think that's a point.
Like,
yeah, because I think this is definitely a marketing problem as opposed to a actual product problem, if that makes sense. It seems like it just needs a bit better communication to kind of quell the murmurings, if you want. Yeah,
like take the Uno, Monopoly and Monopoly Plus and Monopoly Madness. The cloud versions of them games already exist. They're already on Google Stadia. They're all from Ubisoft, who are full in the cloud. I don't see why. I haven't checked PlayStation Plus, but I assume that there's cloud versions of them games available. Mm-hmm. But it's not mentioned in the blog. If it was mentioned in the blog, then you could see where the difference between extra and premium is. Yes, you're getting the same games, but if you have premium and you have you're away from work, you've got a laptop in a hotel room, you can just play the cloud version.
Yeah, and that's very appealing for someone like me who kind of is in that situation in a fair amount. But yeah, I don't know if it's just like all companies apart from Microsoft have like an issue trying to portray the benefits of the cloud and kind of in the marketing, because Google has the same issue with Stadia. I'm not sure if that's like a trend or something, but it is something they need to get on top of, I think.
Yeah, and I think in this case, it's more about, for me, of just... You don't have to push, in this sort of blog, you don't have to push the benefits of cloud. Just acknowledge the games in the blog that are coming to the cloud.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I want, is just an acknowledgement. So I think the only one on this list that I would expect to not be coming to the cloud is Bugsnax, because that's PS5 only.
Yeah. As we said in previous episodes, the cloud version of PlayStation is very much PlayStation 4, right?
I tell a lie, and Bugsnax is PS4 as well, so that could be a cloud version of that available.
Okay.
So every single one of these games could realistically have a cloud version of it available for you to play on premium, but they haven't communicated that, and that is the key difference between extra and premium for me.
Yeah, I'd agree. It just needs better communication, and again, it appeals to a wider audience if you can get that communication down, where it's not really doing that at the moment.
Yeah. So is any of these games kind of taking your interest?
I mean, we talked last week, and I'm super sucked into the Yakuza franchise at the moment. I am playing it on GamePass. I have to admit, this is sacrilege for this podcast, but I am. I guess I'll have to look. I'll probably trial them both on both platforms just to get like a side-by-side comparison. But Dead by Daylight, I feel like I've overplayed that. It's probably releasing a bit too late for me to be interested in. Wildlands the same. I've played that game quite a lot. So if I didn't have Game Pass, I'd be really excited for the Yakuza games, but I do. So it's not a fantastic one for me. What about you?
For me, I'm interested in the Yakuza games. Dead by Daylight, I've played many times on stream on Stadia. We've done a stream of Ghost Recon Wildlands on Stadia. Bugsnax was the first month of PlayStation 5 PlayStation Plus game, so I already own that game. Metro Exodus I've got on Stadia. The Monopoly games and Uno I haven't got on Stadia, but I've had plenty of opportunity to get them. So
realistically, like Monopoly and Uno, like Uno's class, don't get me wrong, I love Uno, but it's not going to be something I'm jumping with joy for. I love the Uno drinking game is legendary. We'll play it.
There might be a stream in these games. This is the weird thing about being a content creator. Sometimes I look at a game and go, I don't really fancy that, but that'd be a fun stream. So I was like, I'll play a fun stream. The one I think that's jumping out to me is Trials of Mana, because I'm a big JRPG fan, and that's the original was, I think, was a SNES game, and it's quite well revered. And so this is the remake of it. So when that remake came out, it was on my radar, and I never jumped into it.
Okay, fair enough. So it's kind of buried in the list there as well, which is it doesn't do it any favors, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I would have kind of pushed this above like maybe one of the Yakuza games, because on the PlayStation blog, the first three are just the first three Yakuza games. Like maybe just drop one of them and drop the other just in the little bullet point section at the bottom. But
yeah, it's like when you're doing a list, it's like Yakuza. So you just stop paying attention because you just think, oh, there'll be more Yakuza, and it probably doesn't do the games any service. They're further below. But again, I don't think this is a bad drop. It's just there's a lot of overlap with other services, which probably works to the detriment, I'd say.
Yeah, I think what we're probably seeing as well is PlayStation figuring out what the mid-month drops are going to be, and as consumers, what to expect from it. And like, if our mid-month is like this every single month, I'd be fairly happy, to be honest. There's a range of different games there.
And it's not the only bite of the apple you get, right? It's mid-month, so
this is the supplement to what you've already had this month.
Yeah,
like your main drop comes at the start of the month.
Yeah, so I might sound a bit ungrateful, but objectively, it's not a bad drop at all, I don't think.
No, I think it's a decent drop. I mean, there's 4 games in that list I'm interested in playing, and there's half the list I've already got. So the only reason I'm not interested is because I've already had access to them for a while.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
Yeah. But let's move on to story 2. Something a little bit more controversial. There's no way I couldn't put this in. As much as
We're going to disagree on this, Richie. I'm so sorry, but we're going to disagree on it. Continue.
All right. So this story I'm reading from Enemy. A PlayStation survey asked players what types of NFTs they would buy. Rob,
go. Linger for a bit. Okay, so I know you and Chris aren't kind of sold, for lack of a better word, on the NFT
I largely think they're a scam. That's just call it straight up.
So, and the distinction I want to make is between the underlying technology and the way it's being used. So the underlying technology of NFT, I think, has incredible application for all of gaming, especially cloud gaming. The issue I have with what PlayStation are doing right now is they're saying, what could we make into an NFT that you would buy? They're not saying, what are you already buying, which an NFT can make better? Like an NFT in its kind of technological form is a digital receipt of ownership. There are so many kind of applications to that in kind of trading games, in kind of secondhand gaming market for entirely digital copies. That's what they should be asking. They should be saying, how can we use the technology of NFTs to improve our existing product, not invent stupid fucking, sorry, swearing, not inventing stupid things like to try and squeeze more money out of people. That's my take on it.
Yeah, the problem I see with NFTs in general is it largely just seems to be a way of squeezing money out of people. I agree with the underlying technology, like blockchain stuff, can have some actually very positive uses, but as they've been implemented everywhere I've seen them, it largely just seems to be a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, I mean, I think I benefit from being a bit more involved in like the crypto space as an interest anyway. So I guess I probably see a lot more of the actual practical development and application, which is going on kind of outside the headline news, maybe. But I do agree with you. The entire thing's been hijacked by speculators and scammers like Logan Paul and Jake Paul and stuff like that. So I can see the perception of it. I really can.
I have the same issues with crypto in general. It seems to be one of them is a new coin is minted. People who are very, very much involved in the space hear about it, buy up first, and spend a lot of time and effort promoting this as the next best thing to everyone. So everyone jumps in, inflates the value. The early adopters jump ship and watch the whole thing crash to the ground.
Yeah, then just rug pull it. Yeah,
that seems to be the cycle of most cryptos. Some of the bigger ones seem to go through these cycles where crypto's crashing at the moment, but next year it'll be back on the rise. Things like Bitcoin and Ethereum, they do seem to go through these regular cycles.
I guess it's one of them things where it's like you had the true kind of like we grew up on like the true Wild West version of the internet, and I think we're living through the true Wild West version of blockchain and crypto at the moment. But the PlayStation kind of application of it does seem very like just scammy and kind of money leching, if you want, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, it feels like, how can we milk gamers for more money? And going back to, me and Chris had a conversation before about Ubisoft when they started trying to implement NFTs. My concern was what you're just going to see is in multiplayer games, where I think is going to be largely the focus for NFTs, you're going to see a lot of people just bot farming.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Which is going to ruin that experience of that game.
Yeah, but I think just the way PlayStation did it, where it's like they were saying like, oh, if we made these things, like, what would you buy? It's like it's such like a scummy way to do things. They're not saying, oh, what things would you value? What things would you enjoy? It's literally, if we were to make this shit, what would you buy it? And that's just A, it's lazy, and B, it's like just a bit money grabbing.
If it was just a very simple implementation, like cosmetics and games which you can already buy, now can be transferred to other games. They stay attached to your account, in perpetuity, and then you can sell them. I'd be a bit more open-minded about it, but the thing is, when you see like a cosmetic in games, if that game, let's say Fortnite, for example, let's say they implemented NFTs in Fortnite, and let's say next year Epic decides to close Fortnite and Fortnite 2 is coming out, there's no guarantee that NFTs and the cosmetics you've paid into that game can be moved forward. They just might not be compatible, in which case, when that game's dead, your money is down the drain.
Yeah, that's kind of like the incompatible side of having buyables in, because essentially like the entire basis of a blockchain is that it should be eternal and decentralized. That's the main kind of selling point. So if there's then a company that can just like literally rip out the heart of a blockchain tech and NFTs, and inherently that's like saying if someone could just erase the existence of gold in the investing world, like it ceases to have value, right?
Yeah, well, I think companies who are looking into NFTs and trying to get them into games, they need to figure out a way that adding NFTs elevates the experience, and then sell that vision of it. Because at the moment, they're just going, like Ubisoft's approach is, we're just going to turn cosmetics into NFTs, which in our multiplayer games, which again, you're just going to get bot farming, so it means you're going to struggle to get matchups in multiplayer games, and the user base of that game is going to be inflated because someone's wrote a macro and is just sat there running a GPU in a server farm, and there's not actually a person playing the game.
Yeah, and realistically, the more exciting application of blockchain, NFTs, and the like is in powering the back end of games, as opposed or powering kind of the marketplaces, as opposed to just trying to sell shit. Which, for lack, I can't think of a better way to put it than that. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think rather than asking gamers what you want an NFT to be is, Sony, what you need to do is come up with an idea of for what an NFT in your mind should be, how this should interact with your products, and then go sell that to the world and go, we're adding NFTs, this is what it's going to be about, and here's the issues we see with it, and this is what we're doing to remedy them. Yeah, and until I see a company do that, I'm going to be pretty damn negative about NFTs.
Yeah, I mean, I will be positive on the potential of NFTs in gaming, negative on the current existence and iteration of them. That's the best way I can sum up, I think.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. Yeah. Let's move on because we could just rant. I could rant all day about NFTs.
I'll bring down the the diatribe if you want.
Yeah, a small one next. PlayStation have added another page to the PlayStation website covering PlayStation games for PC.
I'm very optimistic about this. Again, given the way I game in the PlayStation ecosystem, it's a step in the right direction for me. I have nothing bad to say about this, really.
Yeah, me either. I was like, the only thing I'd like is a cloud equivalent page.
Yeah, that would be nice.
But I think I just want Sony in general to start marking their games as cloud versions available, like as nice and visible.
Yeah, I mean, like they can take lessons from Xbox and the kind of the strength they do it. I think the benefit of Sony playing catch up is they can. It's like in a racing game when you fall way behind and the game takes pity on you and speeds you up to catch up with the pack. That's what Sony can do because they are a few steps behind the other players. So yeah, I mean, it's really, really positive for me.
Yeah, it shows that Sony have been dabbling in the PC space for the last few years. It feels like they're going all in now. It's like the page is easy to find. It's just on the PlayStation.com. Just go on the games, and then it's there. It's not up there with like the images of the PS4, PS5, VR, PlayStation Plus, but the little bullet points underneath. It's clearly visible.
Yeah, it goes back to the kind of the tagline for the sign off for Sounds of Stadia, where it's what is it? Game wherever makes you happiest, something like that. I should probably know that. Yeah,
game wherever. There's various variants of it, but it just means the same thing. Just wherever you're having the most fun is the best place to play. That's the kind of philosophy we have here at Helix Cloud Games.
PlayStation can follow suit.
There's only currently 2 tabs to it. There's now available, and it's got the list of games with like descriptions, thumbnails, and links to buy them on Steam and Epic, which is good. So you can just click, I can buy it there. And the coming soon page, which is also quite nice, so you can see what's coming up. At the moment, there's only Miles Morales and Uncharted Legacy of Thieves coming up. But they're 2 pretty awesome games, to be fair.
I know, right? It's like those are 2 strong games. Arguably like some of the better sellers on the platform, right?
Yeah.
Like they're volume drivers, so yeah, good.
Yeah, the only one other caveat to this is you don't need it at the moment, but there's rumours in the future you may need a PSN account. That is not a paid account.
Yeah, I mean, it's reasonable, isn't it, right? Like, PlayStation gets you in the ecosystem, they get a bit of user data on you. In theory, that can be used to make the product better. Yeah, fair trade-off. Yeah,
I think one of the things for me making the product better is kind of syncing trophies and saves, which you can't currently do. If you could use the PSN network to sync stuff like that. So if that's what their plan is, then I'm okay with that. Like, it's similar like Ubisoft at the moment, where you can play anywhere. You can sync your accounts, sync your saves. That's the future I want. Right? The future I want to live in is where no matter what platform I'm playing on or where I'm playing, I can just pick up and play whatever game it is that I want to play. So if I could add on it, let's say I have a PC at home, but then I just want to play in the cloud on PlayStation while I'm away. I want to be able to just pick up from the same save. Yeah, and again, for people who travel with work and are kind of not nailed down to a specific location, which a lot of people aren't now because people are kind of splitting the time between different cities with work and things, it just ties into how society's starting to function. So, yeah. yeah, again, just good work adding that. I like what you're doing there, Sony. Just give me more detail on the cloud. All I want is just make it easier for me to figure out what's on the cloud rather than have to scroll through and go, oh, yep, through the store and go, yes, there's the cloud version available of this game. There isn't one for this one. I just wanted the list. I just want it easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Moving on to something a bit different. Microsoft are accusing Sony of some shenanigans. Reading from Video Games Chronicle, Xbox has accused Sony of paying developers GameStop block fees. The company claims Sony is trying to inhibit the growth of the subscription service. So basically, the claim is Sony are paying developers extra money so that the developers say no to putting games on Game Pass.
I mean, I had a bit of confusion when I read this story because, it's like especially like the outrage they were trying to gather from it. I mean, like that's the name of the gaming industry, right? Like you get exclusives and better games to your platform, and in theory, you kind of take. That's just how business works. I'm not sure kind of what they were getting at there. I don't know if you have a different take on it, but I was a bit confused.
Well, my take is largely this is on the back of with Microsoft's purchase of Activision, Sony have kind of claimed that Call of Duty is a genre of game into itself, and that is as a kind of a bit of a negative about the whole thing. They're not saying this shouldn't happen. They just kind of said Call of Duty is so big as a franchise, it is effectively its own genre, and therefore Microsoft have a kind of bit of a monopoly. Reading between the lines, I think that's Sony trying to force Microsoft to make sure Call of Duty stays cross-platform. It doesn't make it exclusive. And this just feels like Microsoft going, well, you did that. We didn't like the look of that. We've got this thing on you. Let's throw it out there.
Yeah, basically, it's just like, it's probably just two legal. It's probably just two legal departments kind of bringing shit at each other, right?
I think that's all this is. Like, honestly, I'm not surprised if this happens. I wish it didn't because I just want games everywhere.
Oh yeah, it's weird. Like you can think of things in the context of what's best for gamers, but then you can also because I kind of run a small business, and like on my business head I can think, yeah, but that just makes more sense for our platform. I can see the opposing arguments, but I do hope it doesn't go down that route. But who knows?
I don't think it's not a great look for Sony, to be honest, because it's like it's
seems
kind
petty,
of like
doesn't it?
And it's kind of like rather than improving your offering, you're just trying to inhibit another company's offering. It's like rather than us getting better, we're just gonna make you worse. It's not not a great approach to business, in my opinion. But
if any listeners ever watched Spaced, kind of in the 90s, there's a brilliant scene there where like doing like a Robot Wars kind of fight, and like they do something and they're both just exchanging, that's not fair, that's not fair. It just reminds me of that clip. Really.
But I don't know, I don't think it's a great look from either company in this, to be honest. It just feels like a bit of a slagging match. But
just like 2 hours just like shouting across the street at each other.
We'll move on to something. Now, there's been rumours, and first of all, I want to bring up this. So, Tim Gettys of Kind of Funny made claims on Kind of Funny Games Daily last week that he'd had calls with developers who'd said that games may be kind of moving out the way of God of War. He has clarified that it's largely just like marketing funds have been moved or the distribution have been changed, and he doesn't actually know anything. I actually watched both the episodes. Mm-hmm. You should. It's a great show. So I don't want to dwell on that part of it, but could you see games moving out of the way of God of War?
I mean, if I was in charge of releases and I was launching my own game, then absolutely. If there's like some like giant freight train that's kind of hurtling towards the place you're stood, I would generally say get out the way, and I think that's what God of War is going to be. On top of that as well, when it comes to actually marketing the game and buying ad space and kind of getting influencers playing the game, if you're trying to launch effectively alongside a game like God of War, it's going to be much harder for you to add inventory and kind of space in streaming schedules from like kind of influencers and things like that. So it makes sense from a marketing perspective as well, because you will get more bang for your buck a month or two later. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to move out the way. There's no way it's.
Yeah, I mean, I would make the same decision. It's worth remembering that when God of War came out, it pretty much launched to be in like not in the game of the year category of this game went straight into is this one of the best games of all time category.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what you can produce, one of the best games on the platform, but a game that has that much momentum behind it and that much buzz, even if you create a masterpiece, it's always going to be compared to that, which I wouldn't want that as my kind of the accumulation of years of work on a game I released, and I think it's completely fair. It makes sense from a business perspective, everything.
With the momentum and the legacy of the last God of War Ragnarok will have, if this game is an 8 out of 10, I think it'll sell much better than any other 10 out of 10 came out in the same period. Yeah. Because at the moment, it's all eyes. This is probably the most anticipated game of the year by far.
Yeah, I'd argue the past couple of years.
You could argue earlier in the year was Elden Ring, but now it's like Elden Ring's come and gone. Like it's all been like Elden Ring, all eyes on God of War now.
Yeah, and plus Elden Ring was like kind of came a bit out and not nowhere, but it didn't come off the back of such powerful past kind of franchise performance, right?
Yeah, the Soulsborne games have been gradually quite exponentially developing a following, and Elden Ring was hugely anticipated. But the last Dark Souls, or what Demon Souls, I think was the one that came out before the remake. These were like, this is amazing, but you're not talking like, is this one of the greatest games of all time? It didn't have, God of War, it just, the last one did something really, really special. And that's just set this game up so well. It's like, I mean, it's just, I could absolutely believe 100% that developers are just looking at it and going, you know what, rather than releasing in November or December, let's push it to January.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want any of that smoke. Just, I'll bow out this round, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I think it benefits them more than the kind of like admitting that than being a bit kind of like a loggerheads with it.
Yeah, you'd either have to have like epic amounts of confidence in your game, or it's this is a game where this game is not competing in any way, really, shape or form with Ragnarok. Say something like a sports games, like this is a completely different ballgame. It's basically a different industry into itself. What God of War does isn't going to affect us. But if you're an action RPG, you're not going anywhere near this.
I mean, do you remember the Hellboy remake that came out the same week as Infinity War? No, you don't. Nobody does, right? That's what would happen to these games.
Yeah. But yeah, you definitely should go watch the Kind of Funny Games Daily. He didn't give Tim justice there. He does explain himself quite well. It's split over like 2 episodes, because in one episode he just brought up kind of casually, I've been talking to developers on the back end, like publishers and stuff, and it's like, then it caught traction. It's like, I need to clarify my position here a bit. Yeah. But yeah,
it's just publishers doing their job, and good.
So I absolutely 100% believe that these publishers just moving out the way of God of War, because that is the exact decision I would make.
Yeah. Know which battles you can win and which ones you can't.
Yeah. Moving on, we are now into the delays block of the show.
Get comfy for this one, guys, because it goes on for a while.
Yep. Starting with Marvel's Midnight Suns. It's been delayed to when I lost it. Pushed to the back end. It was originally due to launch this March, but last November, Firaxis and 2K made the decision to push its release back towards the end of 2022 to add more story, cinematics, and overall polish. June then brought the news that it was almost the end in sight, with the game receiving a launch date of the 7th of October. That's now slipped again. However, Firaxis saying it's opted to delay the game a second time in order to deliver the best possible experience for everyone. There's no new release date, but it's expected in this fiscal year. However, previous gen and Switch consoles, it's getting delayed to a later date. And that was reading from Eurogamer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is the danger when you delay kind of when you're in the middle of like two platform generation kind of changes, right? Where like if you kind of keep delaying into like, what is it, like a kind of a year plus now, the arguments for on the previous gen become kind of a bit weaker as the longer you delay. So I guess it makes sense from that perspective. But initially, I am kind of interested in this game because it has the same kind of the mechanics of it is kind of a one that I like. I kind of like the XCOM series as well. So I'm not in any particular rush to play it, but I think I'll enjoy it when it comes out.
Yeah, I'm kind of like card-based XCOM game. It's not really like screaming, I need to play this, but I do like Marvel, so like the story could be great in this. Mm-hmm. I slightly worry we might get an Avengers, a Marvel Avengers game where when the IP isn't doing the heavy lifting, the game feels distinctly mediocre. Not bad, but not great. Which is one of them where I kind of want to see the reviews. I want to see this come out and go, you know what, this is the game you need to play before I jump in. Yeah.
Yes. But I think like going from the screens, it looks pretty kind of interesting, and the animations look kind of nice. And again, like I'm a lapsed fan of Marvel, I'd say, but I think it's definitely something I'll check out. Probably, I might even get it like as a pretty like instant purchase when it comes out, just because I like the format of those games.
Yeah.
So I will tell you if it's good or not, Richie, and then you can play.
Yeah, I think we're both in a similar vein with Marvel, which I think a lot of people probably are. Like post Endgame feels almost like a good an end point for the MCU. Yeah. And
it's
now
almost
it's
like they should listen to the title.
Yeah, now they're trying. It feels like they're trying to figure out what the next phases of it going to be. It's like, I'm still invested because like I've watched every single Marvel film to date. Yeah. But I'm not like invested in what the future's what you're doing for the future yet.
Like I don't think like I was kind of excited about Thor because I love that character, but I haven't been excited for the general kind of direction of the franchise really. And I think, as you said, games like this, which are not backed by the power of the franchise, will suffer and won't have that kind of halo effect, which makes you ignore the flaws, I guess.
Yeah, I just have this very strong skepticism of any game that has the Marvel IP attached to it. I know some people don't like it's different voice actors, the characters look different, that uncanny valley sort of stuff. It's not for me. I don't care about that. For me, it's like I think sometimes they just lean too heavy in what the IP is rather than going, this is going to be a fantastic game, and then the Marvel IP is going to elevate it that little bit. And that was my problem with Avengers, and so this needs to come out and go, this is the best XCOM style game you ever played because it's the newest one.
I mean, I guess the easy comparison to make is the Spider-Man game compared to the Avengers game, right? Those are like that kind of epitomizes what you're talking about there. One is a remarkable game on its own right, which is made better because it's Spider-Man, and the Avengers is a very average game, which traded a lot on the franchise.
Yeah, in a weird way, like that. I mean, the Spider-Man game could only really exist because it's Spider-Man. But if Spider-Man wasn't this huge thing, and you made that game, it'd still be awesome. Yeah,
like just the mechanic, everything about that game is perfect.
Yeah, it feels great. That's why I'm excited for like the Wolverine game as well. Yeah, because that feels like, again, you're going into this single character thing, so you can focus on what makes that character great. As we've been talking the last 2 weeks about Iron Man and Black Panther. Again,
I mean, I was a fan of the previous Wolverine game. I can't remember what it was called now, Wolverine Unleashed or something like that.
Yeah,
that was a rough game, but it it captured the essence of the character very well. So I hope that's what I'm hoping for this next one as well.
I am optimistic for this in terms of the overall quality than Marvel's Avengers, largely because with Marvel's Avengers it was still an action game, where this is more of a strategy game. So you're not trying to embody that character directly. You're embodying the entire cast of characters. Where I've always went back to Hulk. Hulk felt weak in Marvel's Avengers. It didn't feel like this unstoppable beast of a character.
Yeah, because he was like next to like every other character doing basically the exact same function, right?
Yeah.
So I agree. Yeah. The only thing I hope Midnight Suns does not have is the XCOM percentage hit system, where it's like you have like a 95% chance to hit an XCOM game. You can guarantee 9 times out of 10 you're gonna miss, and like that's all.
It reminds me of old Pokemon games where you use tackle and miss, tackle, miss. Oh, bloody hell, just let me.
Like the amount of rage, like I could be like trying to shoot that guy there from this distance, and in XCOM you'd miss like 2/3 of the time. It seemed like that was the issue you had. Yeah. But as long as that's not in the game, I'll be fine.
Yeah, I hope they've developed like the game beyond the point where it's just a very, very simple roll the dice 95% calculation. I hope there's a bit more into that mechanic in terms of the context of what's going on.
Because inevitably, when you do miss, you like it was a vital time, and like your team gets completely wiped in the enemy's turn because you couldn't kill this one enemy. God, don't get me started on XCOM.
Yeah, I get the impression it's a love-hate relationship with XCOM.
Oh I love the mechanics, but god damn, it's annoying. What's the next game that's released before the next game that's delayed before I start ranting again?
The next game that's delayed is Hogwarts Legacy.
My girlfriend won't be happy about this. I have no investment in this game whatsoever, but I imagine there's going to be lots of people not particularly happy about it.
Yeah, I like Harry Potter as a franchise. I've only watched read the books. I've watched the mainline stuff. I haven't watched like Fantastic Beasts or any of this stuff like that. The idea of this open world action RPG playing in that world, I think could be a really, really cool experience. But again, it's another one. It's like I don't need this day one. If this comes out and the reviews go must play, it's like, all right, I will.
Yeah,
but that's a wait for reviews situation for me.
Yeah, I mean, inevitably our household's going to have the game on the day of release, so I'll definitely play it. But I'm not kind of invested in it in any way.
Yeah, it's being pushed back to February the 10th, 2023. The Switch announcement to be launched at a later date. Slightly worries me when the Switch is in the game like this, because the power of the Switch is kind of not there.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're developing a game for PS5 and Switch, how much is the Switch holding the PS5 back so you can get the same game? Yeah.
I mean, I'd hope that. I guess this game's going to live or die not on the technical performance, so hopefully it doesn't kind of interfere with like kind of the core gameplay that much. But it's a valid point, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a lot of this game. It feels like one of them that's been coming out for a long time, but it's never quite got over the line.
Yeah, I feel like it got announced like a lifetime ago, and then eventually it'll come out, I guess. I hope.
But we are very much in the era of delays. Probably a lot of this dates back to COVID, like, to be honest.
It will be. It'll be the COVID, and it'll be the kind of the recruitment issues that basically the entire world is struggling with now, especially the UK.
Yeah, it'll get there. I'm happy to wait for games as long as the developers need. What I don't like is when developers try to force like an arbitrary date because it looks good in the marketing, but then the game launches out into a buggy mess, or there's features that had to cut for time, and there's like, so to hit this arbitrary date that the marketing execs liked, you've had to make a worse game.
Yeah,
for me, it's better to market. Yeah, for me, it's better to market a better game later.
Completely agree.
Yeah. So does Miyamoto from Nintendo. Moving on to our third delay of the week. Ark Raiders from Embark Studios has been delayed into 2023. Delay is to avoid clash with second forthcoming project, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this kind of ties back to what we were saying about we're in an era of delays, and one delay inevitably affects another, and then kind of your entire kind of release calendar just goes to shit, really, doesn't it? So I guess that's just kind of the manifestation of what we're seeing here. It's not a game I'm, again, particularly invested in. I'm not sure about you.
It's one of them. I've had mixed feelings about it. There's rumours it's coming to Stadia, unconfirmed to this date. But one of the things that it reminds me a bit of, what do you call it? Star Wars Battlefront, in a way. And despite all the controversy around Battlefront 2, the gameplay in that game was actually phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. The actual... it's a shame that game was as good as it was, because it didn't get the credit, really, because of the controversy.
Yeah, they shot themselves in their own foot by being greedy, basically, in that game.
100%, yeah.
Because, I mean, the game was beautiful, played really smoothly, the actual combat was good once they got rid of the star cards, so you could just basically pay to win. But it's also a free-to-play game. That's one of the things I go, okay, I will probably play this because it's free-to-play, because there's no investment financially from me. Right.
I mean, I imagine this is going to be a stream game at some point when it does launch, right, for Helix.
Yeah, probably. Hopefully it'll be on Stadia, because most of our audience is still Stadia focused, so I'd rather have it there. But if not, we'll probably look into it on PlayStation.
I think it's... Yeah, just looking at like the kind of like the chatter around the news article as well. I think everyone just kind of echoes what we're saying, where it's like, yeah, this kind of backlash of COVID is kind of finally really manifesting the games industry. Because kind of I think during like the full lockdowns, we didn't expect any form of kind of entertainment release, but now we're kind of out of it. We are expecting it, but there's still like a hangover period. Yeah, which we have to get through.
We kind of have to realise like it was basically 2 dead years because of COVID was ravaging the world. COVID still exists and it's still ravaging things. So people, I mean, we've had at my work, we've had people with time off for COVID recently. So it's still a thing. It's still affecting companies. If it's affecting the business I work for, it's affecting game developers. I think things have adapted a lot to use more remote, develop things more remotely, but it's going to be slower. And there's something like I know not everyone likes the whole office environment, but there is something to be said for if you need to ask someone a question, you can just look up from your desk and just ask them rather than scheduling a call and stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Like my business, it took when the pandemic truly hit it. Like you can make it seem like things are business as usual when like everyone's working remote and things like that, but in the background there is lots of little kind of cogs that maybe you forgot about during the initial transition, which have kind of reared their head some 18, 24 months later. And our place was a very small business compared to the behemoth that is a kind of a large scale publisher. So yeah, I can't hold it against people really.
I think we're going to have another couple of years of delays before the industry kind of settles down on this a bit. And actually what I think we might start seeing is developers holding cards close to their chest till they go, right, this time we are ready. I think generally people don't mind delays as long as they communicate, go, yeah, we're delaying it for good reasons. Fine.
Yeah, and keeping the cards close to the chest avoids a lot of the very vocal minority that kind of kick off and just hurl abuse at developers for being human, basically.
It's when you get games like I'm trying to think of a good example that have been like that took a long time to come out. Like Cyberpunk arguably is a good example where that game was announced maybe about 5-6 years before it came out, and then it arguably came out a year early. It's like sometimes like Death Stranding was the ones that I always go to. I was initially interested in Death Stranding, but by the time it came out, it'd been like kind of over marketed a bit, and I kind of already burnt out on the game before I'd even got picked up the controller.
Yeah,
I still haven't played it. So I can see developers kind of going, we're not going to tell you when it's coming out until we're ready to tell you. And we're not going to tell you we're even working on it till we've got the building blocks in place. Look at Ubisoft with Beyond Good and Evil 2. Like, they've only just got a lead writer on that game. It was announced almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, I guess this is one thing that Rockstar is pretty good at, where everyone kind of speculates on GTA 6 and whatever, but they've been solidly working on a game for a fairly long time now, and we're only just getting hints of what the content or the context of the game is going to be about, so I think they do quite well in that regard. To give Rockstar credit where it's due, which a lot of the time it isn't, but...
I wouldn't be surprised if they had a version of GTA 6 ready years ago, but because GTA Online kept doing so much money, it's like, we'll just keep pushing it back and we'll keep developing it.
Yeah.
It might have even been planned for a PS4 release, and I was like, it's not PS4, we're just going to make this PS5, we've got time.
And some genius in the office was like, should we remake the original trilogy? And then someone else said, yeah, go on, let's do it. And
the thing,
we all know how that turned out.
Quick rant on that one. It's a remaster. The whole point of a remaster is to make the game better. If the game is objectively worse, you're fucked up. Like, how is a remaster worse than the original experience? The whole point is you're not remaking the game, you're taking the game that already exists and freshening it up, up-resing it a bit, maybe tweaking the audio balancing. Like, you're just taking what already exists and making it better. How do you fuck it up?
Who knows, Richie? The mysterious world of game development is lost on us, apparently.
Yeah. Moving on to a game that I'm slowly gaining interest in this game. I have been for a while, and that's Square Enix's Forspoken. It was one of them, when it was announced, it looked awesome, and then I forgot about, and then it keeps propping back up, and every time I see it, it's looking better and better.
I'm in the same bag, yeah, I agree. It just seems to be, again, it wasn't something I was particularly interested in, like, it caught a bit of attention from me, but then it just kind of simmered, but yeah, every single thing they talk about, it's just like, okay, I see what you're doing there, and that's nice. That's what I'd want from a game like this.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I bring this one up, because there has been a new trailer dropped on Twitter. Quite an interesting trailer. You got the lead character kind of just monologuing over, like, just some stock footage of the game. And then people started parodying it. And the other bit of news associated with it is it's rumoured at the moment to have a 2-year exclusivity with PlayStation.
I'm sure Xbox will have something bad to say about that if the current slang and match is anything to go by.
Well, the assumption I think I had, and probably many other people, was this was just going to be a straight up Sony exclusive, because we know Square's not concerned about just going, so we'll give this one to Sony, we'll give this one to Nintendo. Like, they just do that stuff all the time. That's kind of normal for them. But a 2-year exclusive could be interesting. I mean, personally, I wouldn't want to wait 2 years for it.
I mean, I think, like, unless this game gets, like, a lot of pickup kind of organically, I don't see it as a game that has, like, a 2-year kind of shelf life, if you want.
No.
So I guess in a lot of practical terms, it could just be, I don't know if it's got a 2-year exclusivity clause, but in reality it's a PlayStation exclusive for its life, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could see, let's say after 2 years it comes to GamePass, a bit of a boom. Let's assume it comes out on PlayStation. It's like, okay, it's due to release next year. Let's say it's a Game of the Year contender, because it looks like it potentially could be. Mm-hmm. And then 2 years later it comes to Game Pass. People go, Forspoken, that was a Game of the Year contender. I don't have access to PlayStation. I can play it now as part of my Game Pass subscription. It could get that extra boost.
Yeah. I have to see how it drops, really.
Yeah, but that was the main thing there. Moving on, it's been Evo this last week. And part of that, it looks like we might be getting a new Tekken game.
See, Tekken was the fighting game. I was never much of a Street Fighter guy when I was growing up. I played Tekken more than any other games. Now Tekken 2 and then Tekken 3. I have to be honest, I haven't played kind of the latest iterations. I probably won't play this one unless there's some kind of fantastic kind of elements come out of it. Because I'm not just I don't think I'm a beat 'em up player anymore. But
Yeah.
Tekken, like it holds a special place in my childhood, I think, Tekken.
Yeah, I think it's one of them. I think fighting games in general are kind of games that, like, back in the, like, even like the Sega Mega Drive or up to the PS1 era, were like kind of just like staples of the gaming industry. But I think over time they've developed into similar like racing games where they're now more a bit of a niche. Like, it's a solid niche. It's not like a weak niche at all. But they're not even games that I even consider playing, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it depends. I think they appeal very much to kind of like what I like to refer to as like meta gamers who kind of have to reach a certain kind of elite level in like a particular game using like very similar tactics and lots of repetition and things like that. And but most people, that's just not the type of gamers they are. And
yeah, if you're into your esports, if you're into your fighting games, this is probably good news for a lot of other people. It's probably, okay, there's a new Tekken game, I may or may not pick it up. Yeah.
More than likely it's going to be like a GamePass, PlayStation Plus.
Yeah,
for me.
That's what I was just thinking. It's like, this is one where I think it would be a great release if Tekken 8 comes out on like day and date on PlayStation Plus. I was like, here's your big game for the month. I think you could call that a good month.
Yeah.
But
like a recognizable
like,
franchise and a good solid game for what it is. Don't get me wrong, like the Tekken game will be a solid beat 'em up. It's just
no doubt.
The genre just doesn't have the appeal that it once did, I don't think.
Yeah, you have to be that kind of gamer who's very much into the meticulous, perfecting your moveset, knowing how to play. Like, I find them quite difficult to get into as a casual fan.
Yeah, especially if you go online as well, because you basically have to play a game like that for a year to learn how to actually play it. And again, like the multiplayer meta is so different from the experience in single player that unless you're super into the genre, you just drop off very quickly.
Yeah, I don't think... I was thinking, like, as a content creator, I was like, I don't think it would even be that interesting of a stream. Let's say me and you, could we get like a 2-hour stream out of Tekken if it was just me and you?
Well, just us getting stomped online, basically. That might have comedic value to it, but like very repetitive.
Yeah, like, unless you're into your fighting game, I just don't... Yeah, anyway, let's move on from Tekken. I think we both kind of agree. Great game, not for us.
Yeah.
What should we move to next? Let's talk. I mean, probably one of the biggest franchises in the world. I almost glossed over. Call of Duty. Next is the title of the next Call of Duty.
Excellent. Someone in marketing needs to be paid a hell of a lot of money for that, because you can guarantee they've thought of that and went to the pub at 2:00 on a Tuesday afternoon, when they were thinking of it. Again, there's no denying kind of like the impact of the franchise, but it's not one I can say I'm involved in or I'm a fan of anymore. I think the last Call of Duty I played properly was Modern Warfare 3, maybe a bit of Black Ops 2, and then after that I've left that franchise behind.
Yeah, I kind of found it as like iteration on the same thing. They stopped focusing as much on the single player stuff, which was my preference. The single players get shorter and shorter, and just they started going a bit more slapstick and a bit less grounded, where the original ones were quite grounded, quite interesting stories.
Yeah, like the story behind Modern Warfare 2 in particular was fantastic. But they just like kind of went away from that, and the money involved in moving away from that, like I can't blame them from a business perspective, but it made my kind of experience of the franchise suffer.
Yeah, the fact that we're annualized as well, I mean, it's. I was about to say it's hurt them, but it hasn't. Activision has made a hell of a lot of money with Call of Duty. But in terms of the their credibility from gamers as a whole is like, well, I don't need another Call of Duty. Can you not just keep supporting the one I'm playing?
Yeah, right.
But
that makes sense, right?
I think Call of Duty is one of them franchises I'm keeping a close eye on because of the Activision purchase by Microsoft. And I mean, Activision, very toxic workplace, very well known. Bobby Kotick's still in there, there's still no, like, Microsoft haven't confirmed that if he's going to stay or going. We're assuming at the moment that he's going to be staying, which kind of puts me off actually buying an Activision game, to be honest. Like, I don't want to line his pockets while he's treating his staff horribly.
Yeah, right. A stand has to be taken at some point with your wallet, as opposed to kind of virtue signaling online, right?
Well, that's it. Is like, I hope under Microsoft we'll see a change in Activision's culture, because Activision, the first ever third-party game developer, let's not forget that, they are huge. They are so important for the video game industry, for the history of the video game industry. And there's also things like Blizzard, which I used to be a huge fan of. Like, they seem to have just got dragged down in the mud with them. It's like, I want to see Activision, Blizzard, go back to being some of the best games, the best developers in the world. And I want to see Call of Duty go... I want to see a Call of Duty where I go, you know what, it's been a long time since I played a Call of Duty. This looks awesome.
Yeah, and you're pleasantly surprised by the experience as well. Yeah, well, it's the Modern Warfare 2 beta's on... PlayStation 1 is on the 16th of September, early access, and then like the week after it's the crossplay beta. So, again, it's probably not worth the download for me, but...
No, I'm not going to be jumping... I very highly doubt I'll be jumping into this game. The last time I played a Call of Duty, I think it might have been the remake of Modern Warfare, and that's because it came to PlayStation Plus. It's like, I have fun memories of this game. I'll play through the campaign.
Yeah, but like, at the ripe old age of 32, like the appeal of getting like dunked on by some like 17-year-old, and then him telling me all the way he's like banged my mom or whatever, like that appeal is gone by the time you hit 30, I think.
Yeah, I think for me to get interested in Call of Duty again, we need to see the Microsoft merger go through. They need to they need to restructure the board, or however the leadership structure is in Activision Blizzard. They need to sort that out, and then it needs to go away for a little bit. Just a couple of years. We're just going to have a couple of years while we kind of figure out what we want to do with this franchise. They've got what do you call it? The Battle Royale one, Warzone. So it's not like Call of Duty's going away. It's like you still got Warzone, so you can keep the franchise taking over with Warzone, but then reinvent what a mainline Call of Duty game is going to be. Like when Modern Warfare, when that first came out, it revolutionised first-person shooters.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I worked in a game shop when Modern Warfare 2 released, and I remember having to work the midnight release, and the queue outside, we live in a relatively small town for context, and the queue was ridiculous, and like it transcended lots of different generations as well, and kind of demographics who you probably wouldn't see queuing for midnight release. It was that big of a release, and I'd just like to go back to that kind of
that kind of revering of the game, rather than it just being a bit of a punching bag, to be honest. Apart from the hardcore players, I mean, it still sells billions, so it's like, I just kind of want Call of Duty to reinvent the first-person shooter genre again, because if you pick up a first-person shooter now, you're basically playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Like, the core mechanics are rooted in that game, and it's been probably 20 years or something. I can't remember when Modern Warfare came out.
I mean, I guess it kind of it's the equivalent of like the Fast and the Furious movie franchise, right? Like, very popular when they release, they always do well financially, but nobody's kind of holding it up as an example of the genre anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, that's it. I'm just looking for the date. The original Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare came out in 2007, so it's been 15 years, and I think the entire I mean, first-person shooters, I think it's got a bit stale. I mean, there's been iterations on it. You look at Destiny, we're going to take a first-person shooter and give it a sci-fi. We're going to turn it into a sci-fi RPG. It's like, that works quite well. Borderlands, another kind of sci-fi RPG. But in terms of military shooters, they all feel the same to me.
Yeah, and like I feel like as a genre that they are in a particularly weak place now, especially the Battlefield kind of property. Like, it's ripe to be kind of re-revolutionized, I think.
I kind of think as well, there was a lot of hype about Battlefield when it was pre-launch. I think that was kind of it. It's like people a bit stale on Call of Duty. It's like we want to see something come into that space and truly compete against it, like head to head. And then Battlefield didn't have a single player.
It just wasn't the one.
It didn't have a single player. So those who are interested in first-person shooters from a story perspective are just no longer interested. Yeah. And then the multiplayer was just not up to scratch. And when it's only a multiplayer game, it's just like, well,
yeah, it lives and dies in that experience, right?
Yep, you fucked up.
Died.
You fucked up.
Done fucked up.
But I think that's all we have time for you this week. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon for notifications when all of our great shows go live. Don't forget you can follow us on social medias at Helix Cloud Games. And if you want to join the conversation even further, we have a Discord. The link is in the description below. And with that, my name's been Richie.
I've been Rob.
We've been Helix Cloud Games. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Bye-bye.